Welcome to episode 17 of the Sports Geek podcast. On this week's episode, we talk to Chris Freet from the University of Miami, and we talk to Emeric Ernoux from Agorapulse on Facebook stats in the EPL and the NFL.
Welcome to the Sports Geek podcast, the podcast built for sports digital and sports business professionals. And now, here's your host who is actually taller and younger on the internet, Sean Callanan.
Thanks, DJ Joel. My name is Sean Callanan, and you're listening to the Sports Geek podcast. Thank you very much for downloading and listening. We've just hit 5,000 downloads, so a big thanks for everyone who's supported the podcast so far, and for those who have been sharing it on their networks. On this week's show, I catch up with Chris Freet from the University of Miami. I met Chris at Seat Conference in Kansas City, and he talked with me with Francis Leach on ABC Grandstand about a new season ticket holder activation that they're doing and a loyalty program that they're rolled out for this football season. And then after that, we'll be chatting with Emeric Ernoux from Agorapulse about and comparing the Facebook activity of teams in the EPL and the NFL. But first, here's my discussion with Chris Freet on ABC Grandstand.
Francis Leach here. Sean Callanan is from Sports Geek HQ, and he's with us to talk sport in the digital space again. How are you, mate?
I'm good, thanks, Francis.
The college football season has just got underway in the United States. I'm always fascinated by how college football finds a space in the market so enormous for itself when the monster of NFL football looms large at the same time. But they've done it brilliantly, and they're also keeping up with the times in leveraging probably their most valuable asset, which is the passion of their fans.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, college football, it's a bit hard to tell from Australia, but it is a massive business. They pretty much dominate Saturday. They've sort of got the gentleman's agreement. I mean, the NFL is leaking out into other parts of the week, but
Saturday's preserved.
Saturday is college football, and you know, whether you're an alumni and you're still following or you're a student, they are some of the best games from an atmosphere point of view. You're not getting the corporate crowd that you might get at a pro game. You know, I've been to a couple of college basketball games, been to a couple of college football games, and yeah, the atmosphere that the students bring and, you know, the pride they have in their school, you know, goes with no bounds. I think they had 115,000 at the College Football Open between, I think Michigan were in it, and, you know, just massive crowds. And so, you know, they're really looking at the same sort of problems that pro teams are having in serving their season ticket holders and making sure people keep attending, and that those season ticket holders are happy fans and, you know, turning up, because, you know, it's a relatively short season. It's not a lot of games, so they really want to maximise the opportunities.
Each game's an event.
Oh, it is, yeah, and each game, you know, matters. I don't want to go into the Al Pacino fight that inch kind of speech, but, you know, because it's such a short season, every game, you know, matters from rankings, and they're starting to move towards a, you know, college playoff kind of thing. So it's really big business.
Well, Chris Freet would know about what it means to actually turn each of these games into an event and keep his tribe happy. And he joins us now. He's the Associate Athletics Director of Communications and Marketing at the University of Miami. G'day, Chris. How are you going?
I'm doing well. Thank you for the opportunity to jump on with you guys today.
G'day, Chris. Can you just give us a little bit of background? You've had a good start to the season with the Hurricanes. Can you give us a bit of a background of what your job entails and what you're looking to do to serve the Hurricanes fans?
Yeah, and I appreciate the conversation you guys had before I joined you. I mean, you're exactly right about the passion that's around college football. It is not too different in terms of the intensity of it from international soccer. Probably very similar to what you guys see with Australian rules football, and then certainly what we see around the world with rugby. But there isn't anything that compares in the United States, and I'm fortunate to work in that environment. My job at the University of Miami is to work with our athletic department programs and oversee the communications, marketing, and ticket sales areas. And so not only am I working on the messaging, but I'm working on the engagement on game days and trying to take that passion from sometimes what would be a 7 on a scale 1 to 10 and try to always keep it at a 10, as loud and proud as humanly possible.
Chris, how do you differentiate yourself, I guess, in tone and culture in the digital space from the NFL brands, which are big, they're cashed up and omnipotent?
I think the biggest difference is the connection that individuals have to the college that they attended. It's just a different affinity. The professional ranks in the United States, and I don't mean this as a slam, but it's a transactional relationship. You pay to go to the games, you go to them on Sundays, and you move about your way. Colleges, especially if you're an alum of the institution, you spent 4 or 5 years on that campus. So not only do a lot of the intangible things that happen on that campus, not only does the degree that you get from that university mean a lot more, but those formidable years of becoming an adult, the college athletics experience can be some of the most remarkable moments that these individuals have in their life. So it's just a totally different connection. I'm not sure there's an exact way to define it, but there certainly is a greater affinity, and that's where we stand out the most.
And so, Chris, one of the things that you've launched this year is Hurricanes Game Pass around your season ticket holder base with the Hurricanes football. Do you want to give us a little bit of explanation of what that is and what that's trying to do?
Yeah, so essentially in the States here, if you have a rewards card at a grocery store or a market or a technology store like a Best Buy, what this does is it allows you to track what you do on your game day in terms of what time you get into the stadium, whether or not you attend the game. It also allows you to track and earn points for concessions, for merchandise, if you buy a jersey at the game. And then we've taken it another step further. If you're buying merchandise, if you're buying memorabilia, if you're buying autographed goods or those types of things online through our online shop, we're also pulling in those points. So essentially, really what we're doing is we are rewarding our fans for what they normally do in the course of any given season. We're really excited about the data that's going to come out of it because I think it's going to give us a greater insight into the people that support our brand than we've probably ever had before.
What sort of rewards can you offer them, Chris?
It's everything. I mean, I think some of it's experiential. Some of it's going to be Nike dollars. Nike's one of our premier sponsors. Some of it's going to be upgrade your seats, move from the upper level of our stadium to the lower level of our stadium. Some of it's going to be a private dinner with a VIP with our program, an alum, or maybe even one of our head coaches.
So how do you balance that the rewards component of it and what the fans are naturally going to do? Because you don't want to have that mentality of that entitlement of the fan that, hey, I deserve a VIP dinner or those kind of things. Really, you're just tapping into what they're doing naturally. How do you balance that? How many rewards are too many rewards?
That's a good question. I think some of that's a learning process for us. We want to make the rewards a challenge in our first year. And so if you want to buy lower tier items, there will be some or if you want to cash in your rewards for some of the lower tier items, you can certainly cash in those points. But the person we're going after is the person that's like my wife, that checks our credit card statement every single day, that clips coupons, and is always looking at these things. We're not really going after the guy that's like me. Like I would look at a rewards platform on December 15th to see if I could get my nephew a free Christmas gift. But my wife checks it every day, and that's the person we want to find. And in a lot of cases, we think that's going to lead us closer to the mom in the household, because it's certainly in America, and I think probably in a lot of cultures, mom is the one that makes the decisions, especially with how the money's spent, or has the final say on how the money's spent. And we want to get closer to that individual in any given family, whether it's the mom or not, but we certainly think a lot of times it is the mom.
Chris Freet is with us. He is the Athletics Director for Communications and Marketing at the University of Miami, and the Hurricanes have had a good start to the season, talking to us about how he goes about using the digital space to improve his relationship with his fans. Hey, Chris, tell us about the U Suite that you've used in recent times.
Yeah, that's it's not a uncommon initiative necessarily in the States. I know the Cleveland Indians, for example, have done a really good job with it in Major League Baseball. It is an opportunity for us to create a unique experience for the fans that aren't journalists, but use social media to a really, really high level, what we call power users. And and taking the opportunity to provide a really unique experience. So we set up a suite, we gave them internet access, we brought through a few VIPs to talk to them during the game and during halftime, and using that to elevate individuals that are already brand champions probably to a higher level, giving them some special access, being unfiltered, answering questions in a really transparent way. The initial response, we launched it for our biggest game of our home schedule, which was against the University of Florida Gators last Saturday. We launched it last week, and it was a huge success, and the request to get into that suite for future games is almost doubled now.
Well, again, it gives that fan point of view, and you don't have to train fans like that because they're already doing what you want them to do, and and it's just great for the connection with the fans. I'm guessing that's something you can definitely plug into the Hurricanes Game Pass as a reward for fans that are doing what you want them to do.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and it's and a little bit amazing for me. I spend a lot of time in the digital realm and social realm, and I have a director of communications on my staff who spends even more time. And the way I know he spends more time is because the majority of the people he had in the Use Social suite for the first game, I had never even seen on social media, and so credit to him, his due diligence individual named Chris Yandel, and seeking out these people. I followed their stream on game day and then went back and went through the full archive the day after the game, and he found some really, really strong brand champions with really educated, that brought an educated opinion and insight into the game, which is really, really cool.
Great insight, Chris. Good luck with the remainder of the season. Just quickly, how's it shaping up at the moment?
Well, we're 2-0. We're ranked number 15 in the country, and we're excited. We're bringing some of our past tradition and past success back to the program. So it's really exciting times here at the University of Miami.
Have a great season. Thanks for being on Grandstand Breakfast.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, guys.
Chris Freet, who's Director of Communications and Marketing at the University of Miami, talking to us about their innovative program. Sean Callanan to engage their fans and to take it to a whole new level. Hey, thanks for coming in. Remind people where they can find you in the digital realm.
SportsGeekHQ.com or SportsGeek on iTunes.
There you go. Download the podcast. Sean Callanan, our digital sports guru, with us here on Grandstand Breakfast.
Like the Sports Geek podcast? Find us on Facebook.com/SportsGeek.
Thanks to Chris there for joining Francis and I on ABC Grandstand. The Hurricanes Game Pass is actually built behind the scenes by the guys at Project Blindside, who do the front end and the look and feel of it, as well as ski data behind the scenes. So I was lucky enough to meet Ren, and I'll most likely get Ren, who's from Ski Data, on the program to talk a little bit more about their system behind the scenes from a CRM point of view, and starting to get that view of the fan from the season ticket, from a membership, from a merchandise, and any other purchases that the fan is making. So we'll have Ren on a future episode. My next guest, I actually met Emmerich at Social Media Examiner conference in San Diego in March. His product is Agorapulse. It's a tool that allows you to a bit of a social CRM element in that it captures the data around your Facebook, and it also has a bunch of apps that make it very easy to start extracting the data out of Facebook. What he has done is helped build a couple of infographics, one comparing Manchester United versus Liverpool, and the other comparing the Green Bay Packers versus the San Francisco 49ers in their opener. So this is my discussion with Emmerich Anu from Agorapulse. First of all, I want to welcome someone who knows the Facebook space very well. He's got a great product called Agorapulse. He's dialed in all the way from France. Emmerich Anu, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Sean.
So, first of all, I wanted to discuss the two infographics that you helped develop around looking at the sports scene and how they're using Facebook. So we did one specifically for Manchester United versus Liverpool, and these are both in the show notes for the podcasts. And then we also did one for the start of the NFL season, because it's really football season now in the northern hemisphere. It's just starting. In the southern hemisphere, we're just into the pointy end of the season. We're reaching the finals. And we in the NFL, we did the San Francisco 49ers and the Green Bay Packers. First of all, you just want to tell us a little bit about how you came about and got that data and built those infographics.
Well, we used the tool we have in our platform that allows you to benchmark your Facebook page against other Facebook pages. So I've just added all the pages for the 4 teams and retrieved the data, which are all data that you can get publicly on pages when you scan the page with a software. I mean, you could do it manually, but it would probably take you couple of days per page, so it's not very efficient. Doing it with a software allows you to, scan through the page with a robot and get all the comments, like shares, and measure the engagement and the number of interactions on the pages.
So just looking at both the numbers, like the couple of numbers that jumped out at me for both the teams were the number of, because you ran this over. These were averages over 30 days.
Yes.
So both Manchester United, Liverpool, Green Bay Packers, and the 49ers averaged over 4 posts per day, and to me that seemed a little bit high. From an industry standard, you're looking at brand pages across several brands. Is that a stock standard number? Is that high or is that low?
There's not really, unlike many people think or would like to or write on their blog post, there's no rule about the number of posts you should do per day. I'm going to give you an example of a page I like very much, which is a page called Being Liberal. It's an American page, and it's about liberal, thoughts and politics. And these guys post 30 posts a day, 30. So not 330, which is huge if you benchmark it against the average brand page posting habits. And they get the highest PTAT I've ever seen on any Facebook page, which is, they almost have people talking about this metric that's equal to the number of fans, which is outstanding. And they get one of the highest per post engagement I've ever seen either. So when you benchmark each individual post and look at the reach for that post and look at the engagement rate for that post, you get reach and engagement rate that are higher than good brands who are doing 1, 2, 3, 4 posts a day. And when you look at the negative feedback, which could be the downside of posting too often, they have a very low negative feedback. So at the end of the day, the conclusion on all that is what matters is not the number of time you post. What matters is what you post. And if you can consistently post for 5 times or 10 times a day, great content that resonates with the audience, then go ahead, do it, because it's gonna get you great results. If you can't, and it's even hard to come up with 3 posts a week, well, stick with 3 posts a week. The whole thing is that content gonna work? Is it gonna make your audience say, "Wow, I like this, it's great," or is it just gonna leave them cold? And when you look at Being Liberal, it's pretty easy for them because it's all about the politics, public health. Should we go at war or not? Is bombing Syria a good idea? I mean, all kind of stuff that everyone is like interested about because they watch the news, they have opinions, and obviously they like that page. They share the opinions of that page, or everything they write and they post relates to what they care about. So that's the only thing Facebook page manager should worry about.
So the other thing, the other thing, looking at the 2 infographics, is the percentage of fans engaged. In that, Manchester United's got 27%, the Green Bay Packers 39%, Liverpool 17%, and to me they seem to be pretty average. And you've got the 49ers that have gone and got 104% of their fans engaged. Is that just a blip on the radar? Was that a good week that they had, or is it more likely that they?
Well, there are two things.
Yep.
Yeah, there are two things that explain that engagement rate. For, number one, if I'm looking at the benchmark as of today, it's decreased a little bit because today it's 98% over the last 30 days
Yep.
from today. But when I look at the 4 pages, Manchester is 32%, Liverpool is 19%. Green Bay Packers 38 and San Francisco 49ers is 98. So there is really something happening with the San Francisco 49ers page, which is double or tripled the engagement rate than the other pages, even 5 times more than Liverpool if you compare it with Liverpool. The third thing you need to know is that as this is public data that the robot is scanning on the page, we go through all the comments and all the likes and all the shares, and we add them up all together, and we divide them by the total number of fans. So if a fan has liked multiple times or commented multiple times or shared multiple times, is going to be accounted for multiple times. There is too much data to individualize that count. We can't just deduplicate engagement made by a fan several times on several posts over the 30-day period. So it is artificially increased by that technical glitch.
Okay.
That's the first thing. But as this artificial increase is the same for all pages, it remains a way to benchmark pages against each other. And the second thing is, if a page is posting a lot and getting a very high engagement rate per post, it's going to get a very high engagement rate over the 30-day. And if you look at the 49ers and you look at the percentage of engagement per post, I'm not sure that that was the infographic, but I have it here. On the per post basis, it's 0.87%. And if you look at the Green Bay Packers on the per post basis, it's 0.29%. So that means that because they're posting, 4 posts a day, and the Green Bay Packers are almost posting the same amount of, with the same frequency. Having for the same amount of posts, 0.87% of your fans interacting as opposed to 0.29. And if I look at Liverpool and Manchester, they're both at 0.2% of engagement per post. Obviously, if you add up all the posts for the 30-day period, it's going to go wild. And that's why the 49ers is so high. But so you shouldn't look at these numbers, or these are the exact percentage of fans or users, because these could be non-fans as well. We can't see the difference when we're scanning the page, but it allows you to see that the whatever is going on the San Francisco 49ers, these people are way more engaged than anyone else we've been benchmarking.
And it would make sense. San Francisco fans are highly. Very much a digital fan base. They come from the hometown that Facebook and Twitter and that have come out of. So, we've seen the success that the San Francisco Giants have had. I've spoken to the Warriors previously. They've got a really digitally savvy fan base. So it's no surprise there. And what they may have done also is promoted some of that content as well to get more engagement. But as the season approaches, there's always a bit of fervour online. So that leads me to the discussions, I guess, around Facebook content and the recent changes on 2 fronts. So one, the changes that potentially have been rumoured and that Facebook is saying how they're changing EdgeRank. For those who don't know, EdgeRank is Facebook's way of curating your own social feed, your own news feed, to decide what appears in your news feed. And they've pretty much come out and stated they're going to start downgrading low-quality content, potentially, like memes and things like that. EdgeRank has been a contentious issue for Facebook marketers for a long while. I've seen you've done a lot of work in sort of disproving some of the myths and busting a few of those myths. What's your take on the latest changes or tweaks to EdgeRank?
As with Google, we don't have access to what's actually in there in that algorithm. So it's pretty difficult to say anything that will be relevant to what is exactly happening within the algorithm. The only take I have, which is very high level, is that looking at the pages that have been successful for the last 12 months, or 18 months. And looking at how their success and their engagement rate and their reach and the success of the content has evolved through all these EdgeRank changes, because there have been at least 5 or 6 of them in the last 18 months. And I'm talking major changes. I think they're tweaking the algorithm very, very often. But when you look at the evolution of these pages, they have remained the same. I mean, the level of reach, the level of engagement, and the level of success of the pages and their content has not changed so much. This goes back to the quality of the content and the way the audience is receiving that content, is reacting to that content. If you've been posting consistently good content and had a consistently good reaction from the audience, these EdgeRank changes will at best improve your performance, or at worst just keep it the same. But the only pages that I've seen downside or negative effects on their performance were pages having low engagement or high negative feedback. People tend to underestimate the impact of negative feedback and not look at that metric, even though it's one of the most important metric when it comes to getting a good EdgeRank. So focus on measuring each piece of content. I mean, if you're serious about that, focus on measuring, because it's time consuming, each piece of content, and look at each piece of content's performance and get rid of what's not working above your average, and focus on what's getting scores and metrics that are above your average, and try to tweak it, on a weekly basis. Every week I would review each piece of content and look at the one that have not done great and try to understand why, and get rid of them, and get rid of the why, the reason why these were not performing well, and identify the ones that were doing great, and try to understand why, and then try to get to that direction more often the following week. So if you do that, EdgeRank can change 1,000 times. It's not going to affect you. It's like Google and SEO. If you post crappy blog posts and do content farms, 3 years ago it would do good, but right now it's not doing good anymore. But at the end of the day, that makes sense. You were doing crappy content and content farming. There's no reason that you should be rewarded for that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that is a really good thing. You can over obsess on EdgeRank, and you can read every single person's take. There's a lot of people having different opinions on it, but in the end, you've got to focus on what you're trying to deliver. And in the case of sports teams, a lot of them are trying to deliver, they're trying to grow their fan base, and you can do that via engagement. So you're putting up content that will engage in photos and videos and things that your fans like. But then the other one is that they do want to get eyeballs on their website. So one of the metrics you want to be tracking is how much traffic is Facebook driving to my site. And that has still been pretty consistent, no matter what whatever the EdgeRank changes is. And even it's been consistent, even if we change the amount of posts that we put up. So we've with some teams throttled the amount of posts back and only put up the premium content. But we know, the fans know, well, this must be a premium content because the team is valuing it. I will click through, I will read it, and the traffic has remained the same just by removing some of that content. So that was one of the changes around EdgeRank. The other change was around the promotion guidelines. I've already spoke about it on a previous podcast. The fact that now you can run pretty much Facebook have opened up the floodgates. Previously, the promotion guidelines didn't allow you to run competitions on your wall. You weren't allowed to run like competitions and comment competitions, and they were pushing brand owners into third-party apps. Much like Agorapulse, which you're a third-party app. And when they came in and called this change, there was a lot of the sky is falling. Third-party apps are going to be killed off. Everyone's going to be doing like competitions. I'm not in that boat myself. What's your take as an app owner, as someone who has a tool that you can run campaigns through and extract data from Facebook using Agorapulse?
Well, it's also a subject I'm pretty much on top of, because I wrote like right after the change at the subject on different blogs. And that gave me the time and the depth to analyze and try to understand the pros and cons and what that change really brought to the page owners. And the bottom line and my conclusion was the following. The first thing is the value of the prize you are giving away will impact the channel you use to offer that prize. If you're offering very, very valuable prizes, doing it on the wall will probably be very messy and complicated because, if you're giving away $10 ticket for a game, people are not going to scrutinize the way you are giving away those tickets, and they're not going to sue you in court if you're not doing it fairly. So that's okay. And honestly, to give away $10 a piece kind of prizes, I would even myself go with the timeline and don't bother setting up an app. But as soon as you're giving away valuable stuff, for example, you have sports team who do that with partners, car makers or travel organization.
But you're also working with bigger volume fan bases. So I think those live competitions will work. Again, I agree. With the low value thing, if you're a small cafe or a local shop, those kind of things, it would work. But if we're looking back at the Manchester United with millions of fans, 35 million fans, and we're looking at the Green Bay Packers of 3.5 million fans. It's not a viable strategy to be able to run those kind of competitions, because even if you had a $10 competition, you have so much engagement and so many disappointed fans, and it's just it's a clunky mechanism, I guess.
Yeah, that's the key. You don't want disappointed fans when you're running a giveaway or a contest or a promotion. That's the last thing you want. So again, the volume is highly important, but the volume plus the value of the prize will make it or break it. If you have a high volume of fans and a low volume and low value prices, they're not going to complain on the wall because they didn't win the $10 ticket. They're just going to let it go away. But if they have not, if they feel that the way that $2,000 round trip to go see the team play in some exotic place, and you feel that this was not awarded fairly, and you've done your best, and you've invited all your friends, and so on and so forth, then you're going to start to be disappointed and complain about it. So that's why the conjunction of the value of the prize and the size of the audience can really make a big difference. If you have a big audience and want to offer something of value, I wouldn't go with the wall because I would be very afraid, and I've seen nightmares going on pages because of that. I've seen them, I've witnessed them. But if it's very low prices, that even with a big fan base, they're not gonna hang you. For a low value thing, they're just going to live with it.
So the other thing, I spoke about it at SEAT conference about digital campaigns, and the main reason a lot of teams in this case use Facebook is as a sales funnel to starting that conversation with their fans, and then what they want to do is convert those fans into their CRM, into their database. And that's the other component that the like campaign or the comment on this photo campaign doesn't allow. You'll only get the contact details of the winner. You don't get the contact details of all the fans that have entered and able to opt them in. So do you want
and getting the contact data of the winner, if you have 1 million people liking a post, is also going to be complicated. So it's obviously getting the data of the fans is a deal breaker, because with a timeline contest you'll never get anything. So if that's something you focus on, the timeline option is not really an option. You really have to go with an app, because that's the only way you can gather that data. That was the second thing to help you choose between running the contest on the timeline or with an app.
So
I just have one last thing. One last thing about that is and I don't mean to scare people, but there are laws that are very strict about how to run contests and promotions in each country. And I don't know the law in Australia, but I know the law in Italy, in Brazil, in France, in the Netherlands, in Belgium, in lots of European countries, and they're pretty strict. So you need to have official rules, and if you don't display them, you could get a big fine. In France, you have to file these rules with an official representative. If you don't do that, you can get big fines as well. In the US, you have
those apply. Yeah, the jurisdictions apply in all parts of the world. But yeah, in Australia, it's the same. You have to have the right permits for running a competition. There's different rules. And again, this isn't legal advice. There's different rules for game of chance versus a game of skill, and depending on how you run it, so you can run a 25 words or less style competition with a little bit more freedom than effectively a random draw. So like there's and it's very hard to convey all of that information in a Facebook post. Like
super hard.
So getting off those topics, and because we've used Agorapulse with some competitions and some data activations. We did it with the A League and the Manchester United game earlier this year, and got the fans to pick the score. We also used the petition style app for the Sydney Thunder for them to welcome Mike Hussey to the team, and getting the fans to send in messages. Tell us a little bit about Agorapulse and some of these third-party apps that you can plug in and run these campaigns and start getting a data profile of your Facebook fans.
Yeah, one of the unique thing about our platform is that it does provide applications such as contests, photo contests, sweepstake quizzes, instant win, personality tests. Different kinds of app. I think we have 6 or 7, and adding more every month, which allows you to collect emails, first name, last name, and what team you support, and every kind of question you want to ask them. This is one thing. But what we also have is we scan the timeline of the page, which allows for moderation and scanning the content posted by the fans, and which also allow us to merge and match the data that we collect on the timeline and we collect through the app, and kind of give you a much deeper profile information about the fans, not only knowing their email, first name, last name because they entered into a contest, but also getting all the activity they had on the page and get that title together. So wow, this is a very active fan. It's been liking 150 times last month and commenting 70 times. And I have his email. I know what team is supporting. I know what player he prefers. I know where he lives, and so now I can really start building a much more CRM oriented action with these fans. So it gives a lot more marketing power to the people running the page, because we tie these activity on the page and personal information gathering together, and we also have the competition benchmark with which we build the infographics. We have statistics, so we have a whole set of stuff, not only apps. So that's probably the one thing that takes us apart from the crowd out there.
Yeah, I must say, as someone who's I've used them from a setting up of the apps point of view, it was really good. And I think that one of the key things from a selling point, from my point of view in using it, is the fact that you have that the mobile option of the app. So one of the big problems with a lot of third-party apps is you go and put it up on your Facebook post and you say, "Hey guys, here you go and enter," and 50%, almost 60% of your fans are using Facebook in a mobile environment on their mobile. And so they click and the tabs don't open, third-party tabs don't work in Facebook mobile, but what you provide is a mobile-friendly URL, and it will redirect them to a mobile site if they're on the mobile, or redirect them to the page, the tab, if they're on the desktop. So you've automatically got access to 50% more of your fans, and in a real easy environment. So I think that's one of the big pluses, that I've when we were using it and also pitching it to clients, in that you can have that mobile web form as part of your Facebook app.
Yeah, it's really a key. It's really a key thing. To be fair to the competition, we're not the only one doing this. There are other vendors who do that as well, but there are still a lot of them who don't. And I keep I keep stumbling upon contests run by pages on my timeline when I check my Facebook on my mobile, and a lot of them still don't have mobile access. So you click on the thing and you get an error message, and it's like,
Yeah.
so frustrating. And we have pages where the participants who came through mobile are up to 40 or 50%. So it's not everyone, but for some of them, it's really significant. So it's really something that should be taken into account.
Well, thank you very much for joining me on the podcast. I will have links both to these infographics, which you'll see they'll be pinned and they'll be put up around the internet. Hopefully, if you see them and you want to share them, please do. I'll also put links to Agorapulse and also the barometer tool that you've got, so you can check your own page and a few of the pages that you run as well from Agorapulse. So thank you very much for joining me on the podcast, and hopefully I'll catch up at a conference soon when we're both at the same conference as we were in San Diego earlier this year.
Yeah, in March, very probably. I was in Cleveland last week for Content Marketing World, so I go to conferences in the US very often. And thank you for having me. I mean, it was a great conversation.
Leave me a voicemail question for Sports Geek Podcast using SpeakPipe at sportsgeekhq.com/SGP.
Well, that wraps up another action-packed Sports Geek podcast. I want to thank Chris Freet and Emmerich Arnoux for joining me on the podcast. All the links from the show notes will be in the show notes, so you can check out the Hurricanes Game Pass. You can also check out Agorapulse. If you just simply go to sportsgeekhq.com/Agorapulse, and I'll redirect that link to Agorapulse. And also check out those infographics for the NFL and the EPL. Thanks to the guys at Agorapulse for helping me produce those. That's it for another episode of Sports Geek Podcast. If you could share the podcast on your networks, on Twitter and on LinkedIn, I would very much appreciate it. And I would very much appreciate if you would drop a line on iTunes, as the reviews definitely help the rankings. So if you go to sportsgeekhq.com/iTunes, I'll be very appreciative of it. And as always, if you have a question, either send me a tweet or, as I said, as DJ Joel just said, you can leave me a voicemail message question. I'm actually planning to do a Q&A style podcast in the coming weeks, so I'll be putting a real big call to action to send in your questions. That's it from me, and until next week, may your team be winning and may your team be trending. This week's Sounds of the Game has actually gone a little bit local. I've actually gone with my son's football team after a rare victory. They don't quite know all the words to the song, but you can hear their enthusiasm. Cheers.
Please leave a review on iTunes. Go to sportsgeekhq.com/iTunes. Find all Sports Geek podcasts at sportsgeekhq.com/SGP. Thanks for listening to the Sports Geek Podcast.